Hello, and welcome to Skyline Psychology. The technique I'd like to share with you today is called Mindfulness of the Hand, and it's an exercise in curiosity and openness. At the end of the technique, I'll pose some questions that will help put into focus the reason for this exercise. It will take about 5 minutes, so have some trust, let go of some control, and allow me to take you through this exercise. I invite you to get into a comfortable position and just turn one of your hands palm upwards and hold it at a comfortable distance from your face. For the next few minutes, I'd like you to observe your hand as if you're a curious scientist who's never seen a hand before. And from that perspective, first notice the outline. Mentally trace the outline of your hand, starting at the base of the thumb and tracing around all the fingers. And notice the shapes of the spaces in between the fingers. And notice where your hand tapers in at the wrist. And now notice the color of your skin. Notice it's not just one color. There are different tones and shades and dappled areas. And really slowly stretch your fingers out and push them as far back as they can go. And notice how the color changes in your skin. Then slowly release the tension and notice how the color returns. And do that once more, really slowly, noticing the color disappear and then return. And now notice the large lines on your palm. Notice the shapes they make, where they come together or diverge or intersect. And zoom in on one of those lines and notice how there are many smaller lines feeding into it and branching out of it. And now shift your attention to one of your fingertips and notice the spiral pattern there, the pattern that you always see on fingerprints. And notice how the pattern doesn't stop in your fingertip. It carries on down your finger and trace it right on down. And notice how it continues into your palm. And now ever so slowly, bring your little finger towards your thumb and notice the flesh in your palm scrunches up. And now slowly release. And notice the flesh resume its normal contours. And now turn your hand to the karate chop position and notice the difference between the skin on the palm and the skin on the back. And look at your index finger and notice there's a sort of dividing line where those two types of skin meet each other. And really slowly turn your hand over and notice the skin on the back, and notice any criticisms or judgments your mind makes. Notice any scars, sunspots, blemishes. And notice the different tones and colors of the skin, where it passes over a vein or over your knuckles. And really slowly curl your hand into a gentle fist and notice how the texture of your skin changes. Notice any comments your mind makes about that. And focus in on your knuckles and gently rotate your fist and notice the contours and valleys of your knuckles. And now tighten your fist and notice what happens to the knuckles, to their color and their prominence. And then really slowly open your hand up, straighten your fingers, and notice how your knuckles just disappear. And now bring your attention to one of your fingernails and notice the texture of the nail and the different shades of color. And notice where it disappears under the skin and the cuticle that seals it in there. And now really slowly, really gently, wiggle your fingers up and down and notice the tendons moving under the skin, pumping up and down like pistons and rods. And that brings us to just over 5 minutes or so. So here are some questions to ponder. What did you discover? More specifically, what did you discover about your hand that you didn't know before? For some, it's the dividing line between the two types of skin. For others, it's the spaces between the fingers being uneven, or the way the fingerprint pattern goes all the way down to the palm. I wonder what you noticed about your hand that you had never noticed before. And I wonder what interested you the most. So what is the relevance of this exercise to your life? Could it be that we take things for granted? This part of your body, attached to you your whole life, and even now you can still notice new things about it? Could it be that when we pay attention to life in this way, it can become so much more interesting? What might happen to your closest relationships if you paid attention to your loved ones in the same way you just did to your hand? Would you be willing to give it a go? Next time you're feeling bored, stressed, anxious, or otherwise caught up in your head, would you be willing to really engage in whatever it is you're doing, like you just did with your hand, and notice what happens? Thank you for listening and having a go at the exercise. I really hope you found it helpful.